Good morning, and happy Wednesday from the farm. Welcome to another episode of Thinking Outside the Soil, where I get to talk about topics related to the farmers and ranchers that use hydroponic practices to grow the crops and creatures we need to eat. I am your host, Sean Short, co-founder and executive director at Blooming Health Farms, and I'd like to thank you for being with us on this beautiful morning. I am inside the aquaponics farm this morning, doing a few system checks, just getting ready for the day, prepping things for those that are going to come in and help the farm run. And one of those people that's going to come in today that I get an opportunity to work with is actually my father. He's a retired veterinarian, and he has just taken to what I'm doing here and has offered to help feed the chickens on a part-time thing to help me develop some of the processes that we're moving forward here. And one of those is this feed your flock sprouting system that I'm coming up with. So I've relied on his observations and his knowledge base to really, look at that from a holistic perspective. One of my heroes is Temple Grandin. And for any of us out there that may not know who she is, Temple Grandin is one of the foremost authorities on animal science and animal welfare in the world. She is a professor and scientist over at Colorado State. And her real strength is animal welfare, specifically in the agriculture industries. And then her focus tends to be more so on the animals that we put and go to slaughter. So she works a lot with large producers and feedlots and slaughterhouses to ensure the animals are treated humanely and that the systems are designed with the animals in mind. So I said yesterday and have said a few times, or alluded to rather, how intelligent our animals are, and we see more and more that they know things that we didn't realize that they did. And it's one of the reasons why I am so fascinated by Temple Grandin. So another little caveat that is somewhat, of note is Temple Grandin is actually a high-functioning autistic individual. And because of that, she has this unique capacity to understand animals in a way that many of us actually don't physiologically possess. We just don't have the ability to do this. And this woman has been able to hone this ability, but not just hone it, she's been able then to show that anyone within that spectrum of autism can develop themselves to become more than they thought they could be. I use her animal welfare audit for my flock. Temple's animal welfare audit is a simple checklist that covers, from a larger picture, the major things that are necessary to maintain that animal's health. So some context might help. A lot of the people that raise animals, there's a lot to the health of any individual. And so most of the time, these larger producers or even small scale, we've got these long lists of all these things that we need to do to check for. But Temple's gift has been to be able to understand that and go, all right, if you've got these big picture things checked off, then everything else for the animal's health will start to trickle in underneath of that. So One of the things that I find just fascinating about her is her willingness to just jump in and investigate, and literally jump in and investigate. She would just get inside the cages, she would get inside coops, she would get inside squeeze chutes, she'd get inside the feedlots out in the herd. Everywhere that they are, she put her mind and her body there. I think she'd probably laugh and smile if she even saw me crawling inside of the coop and chatting with my ladies, or singing to the fish when we feed in the morning. And it's really because of her that I've made that part of our SOPs. I instruct all of the people that work with me or work for me to talk to the animals. I have a chart here on the wall. It says, say, "Hey fishes, good morning fishes, it's time to eat," and then toss feed on the water surface. And I remind people that speaking with compassion and enthusiasm to our animals is important. As Temple reminds us, they make us human. And they also say we are what we eat. And since we all know how intelligent they all are, I tend to let them tell me what's healthiest to eat. Of course, we can't just let them eat whatever, or all of those treats that we give them would ruin their, quote unquote, appetite if we did that. And then just giving them this whatever all the time is probably, like I joked yesterday, sending a kid into the grocery store to pick up supplies. And if you want to eat healthy food, you've got to take responsibility and think about that. And so the same is true with our animals. But just, hey, real quick, before I talk a little bit more about some of the health benefits that I've seen with our sprouts, if you like what you hear or have enjoyed any episode so far, please let me know, rate or review the show. And if you like it and stick around, subscribe, hit the little notification button, and every new episode will alert you. So, with that being said, let me just quickly cover some of the health benefits of what I see when we feed barley here to our back. So when we're feeding each day, you'd actually think that we're feeding candy, because without fail, they all abandon the kibble. Another one of my volunteers recently told me that they tried to put the layer kibble out after feeding the sprouts, and none of the chickens came for the pellets. So things like that are why I said, I tend to watch what it is they do in order to give them the best thing for them. Because at the end of the day, I still see layer pellets in the feeder. Now, my chickens love that, because when I go out there, I'll dump that little dust or flour that's left over on the ground. And so they all just come running out of the coop if it's nighttime and scratch and peck the leftovers. But it shows me that if they're just leaving some of that stuff there, that they're likely full or they're satiated, meaning they've got enough nutritious food where they're not seeking something else. The barley sunflower that I'm feeding is shown to have a lot of health benefits, aside from the observation that it's delicious to the chickens. And most specifically, Barley and sunflower both show to have high levels of omega-3s and omega-6s. So these fatty acids are the ones that we know, or I'm telling you now, these are the healthier fatty acids in our diet. Our bodies are able to digest these a lot better without a lot of inflammation. So that's the major takeaway. They are the healthier fats, if you will. Barley and sunflower also have high levels of carotenoids. So these are the precursors to vitamin A. The most familiar way I think of carotenoids is that orange-yellow color that we see in corn and carrots. So those are good, I think, what do I want to say? They're two good things to think about as far as from a color perspective, because I mentioned the color of our eggs in a couple previous episodes, and I'll likely talk all about the yolks. So the color we see is somewhere between the color of corn and the color of carrots. So that's because of the carotenoid level inside the barley and sunflower. I touched on yesterday that the sunflower shells show trace levels of calcium, and so that's going to be hugely beneficial to the chickens and to you as an operator or a backyard person, because that means we're feeding less calcium supplement out to the chickens, and less calcium supplement means less cost on our pocketbook, and then even less time doing the work to supplement the calcium, which really isn't that much, but it does require some work, as well as some of that thinking work. And to be honest, thinking work is the hardest work to do. So if we don't have to do that, we can use that time to do other things, and it adds up. And the last major thing about sprouts, we don't always talk about the huge benefits that this conveys, but it's the high water content in the sprouts. So I touched on this briefly in a previous episode. The sprouts have a lot of water inside of them, and so that's providing this highly organized, good phase water for our chickens. It's also doing that for whatever animal you're feeding this hydroponic fodder out to. And then they're able to get this clean source of water at the same time that they're feeding. So the chickens and or whomever else are saving their time as well. So time is important to everything, not just us as human individuals. The other aspect of that is a lot of us in the temperate areas or northern latitudes and southern latitudes during the other part of the year have to deal with winter and freezing water and coming up with all of these challenges to keep that water thawed, heaters, all these other things. Now, for us out here in the West, many of us are remote, so the challenges of frozen water are real. We don't have the opportunity to just run an electrical cord out 16 acres to the middle of something to keep it warm. And yes, there are wonderful technologies that we can use, such as solar and other things. However, the takeaway is that the sprouts contain all of this water, and that water in the sprouts makes it better for the chickens and makes for less work for the producer, operator, the chicken dad or chicken mom, depending on what your relationship is with your chickens. And I realize they're all a little bit different, so I just want to be very little mindful, or be mindful of kind of our different relationships with those chickens. So when I'm sprouting this seed. And when seed sprouted, we're not using much water to do that from the get-go. So we're saving a lot of water to grow the feed for our chickens compared to what it would be if we needed to do this in the field and then go and collect that, harvest it, and or even if we were pasturing our chickens, relying on the environment and or our irrigation to give the field enough water so that the plants can grow to their full potential. So while pasturing and all of those other things have this huge advantage, if you're in a water-strapped area and you're facing drought, then we have to be able to look at other types of agricultural systems, and we have to look for other solutions that will work for you and be best for the environment. But that's all that I really have for today. So join me in the near future, and I'll surely share more about the health benefits of the chicken and some of the things that we're seeing. I'm going to be talking about some of the advantages to meat broilers. I want to just touch on that. And another thing I want to touch on this week is about their feathers and stuff like that. So if you enjoyed this show, as always, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Please go ahead, leave me a comment, send me over an email, Sean@thinkingoutsidethesoil.com. That's SEAN, like Sean Hen. And wherever you are, I would love to hear from you at any time or any moment of your day. I read and listen to everything, so please send those over. If you want to learn more about how hydroponic fodder helps farmers save water, improve livestock quality, and become better stewards, tune in again to another episode of Thinking Outside the Soil. And don't miss out on becoming part of the next agricultural revolution. So thank you for being with us on another episode. Take care and have a lovely day. Hey, before you go, check out the links below. Leave me a rating and review and follow the show. Don't forget to get yourself some of our Blooming Health blended sprouting mix. Our mix has been shown to get the best eggs and create the healthiest flocks. With feed costs going up, right now's the time to lock in a subscription so that you can get the best eggs without having to go to the grocery store or the feed store anymore. Check out the links below to get yourself some Blooming Health blended sprouting mix.